Hey, welcome to the Throttle the Floor podcast. I'm your host, Will Earnest, here today with my co-host, Evan Sager.
Hello, y'all.
I'm back from Indianapolis. I was there at the race taking photos and all that. But before we get to that, let's get to some other news. I want to start with Stuart Friesen's hard crash in his dirt modified up in Canada. He broke his right leg and his pelvis. That could kind of screw him for the playoffs, being that, he did score a truck win at Michigan back in early June. So, but we'll see. So, prayers out to him for a quick recovery and, with the surgery that he's going to need. So, but getting right into Indy, I want to start with Xfinity on Saturday. Connor Zilic, he won the race. It was his 5th win of the season in Xfinity, his 3rd win in a row, and the 100th win for Junior Motorsports. But kind of the bigger thing was Austin Hill, right rear hooking Eric Almirola. The news just broke today that he will be suspended for the Xfinity race this coming week at Iowa, and Austin Dillon will fill in for him.
Which, speaking of Austin Dillon's a pretty good driver at Iowa in the past, so
yeah.
See what an RCR driver can do.
Yeah. And Austin Hill, he will lose all his playoff points. He had, I think 21 playoff points to his name.
Which is wild to me because then he'll start with, 16th in the playoff grid, first playoff race?
Yeah, he'll have 0 playoff points.
So what, hypothetically, if he wins any, would he keep those going forward?
It doesn't, it gets rid of all of his, 21-some playoff points now, and it also gets rid of any future ones.
Oh, okay.
So
he
will start the playoffs with 0 playoff points. But, it's the new criteria that they came up with this year. Because essentially, they updated the waiver to where if you're suspended, it doesn't qualify you for a waiver. So, but I don't think it keeps him out of the playoffs. It just gets rid of his playoff points.
Yeah. Because yes, Bray hooking on someone is not great. But, it doesn't mean you shouldn't make the playoffs, considering his wins and all that stuff. But
I don't think it'll keep him out of the playoffs. I think he still has his playoff eligibility. It's just he won't have any playoff points.
Yeah.
So he'll start at 0. So, not going to be great. But, something has to be done about these right rear hooks. It keeps happening. You think of, obviously Hill back on Saturday with Eric Almirola. You think of Austin Dillon with, at the end of the Richmond race last year. You think of Bubba Wallace and Larson at Vegas in
2018 Austin
23
Dillon.
Or 22, whichever. Is either 22 or 23. I think it was 23. Maybe it was 22.
2018 Daytona 500.
Yeah.
When Austin Dillon right hooked
Austin,
Eric Almirola.
Yeah, on the backstretch.
Something about these RCR cars, man.
I don't know. What is it with RCR? But
it's always RCR and something.
And, that's the example I was thinking of. Chase Elliott and Hamlin at the 600, a couple years ago. So
it's all these Chevy teams, man. I wonder why.
I don't know, but it's just something has to be done, and clearly, one race suspensions haven't worked. So, it still keeps them in the playoffs, but you don't have your playoff points.
Right.
You've lost your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna, jeopardize, other drivers and stuff by pulling that kind of stuff, you shouldn't have your advantage with your playoff points, So I think NASCAR made the right call. Now, doing that, but also penalizing him for 5 laps for reckless driving, that's something that it's kind of rare. You don't normally see it, the 5-lap penalty for rough driving, but I think of
Kyle Busch.
I think of Dale Sr. in I think it was 93 at the 600 where he dumped Greg Sacks, and but the rule's been in place and it's been there. It's just it's hard to use, but it took him out of contention for the Indy race, and they also penalized it accordingly. I think so. I think they made the right call. It's just now it's, NASCAR's favorite thing, inconsistency,
Right.
And they need to be consistent moving forward, no matter if it's, Austin Hill or Chase Elliott or Bubba Wallace or Cody Ware, who knows, They have to be consistent with these calls, and that's something that NASCAR struggled with, so.
We'll figure it out. I mean, in my opinion, they should set a precedent, but they aren't great at keeping the precedent set. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what keeps them from continuing doing the same thing over and over again by penalizing the same thing, but they don't. I don't know.
I don't know. It's different. Something different every year, it seems like. Anyways, on to the Brickyard. I was there taking plenty of photos, which I do have those photos up now on Chill Will Media. I essentially took my photography Instagram and my podcast Instagram and merged them together. So, but we'll get to that later. Bubba Wallace, huge win at the Brickyard. His third career win, his first win in about 2.5 years since Kansas in fall of 22.
It was 22.
So, Larson ended up second. So he was only about a couple car lengths away from securing back-to-back Brickyard 400s. It seemed like Logano towards the end of the race, and even just Penske. I mean, with Logano and Cindric, they had, they were in the lead at different points, but then they had the right rear tire problems, and then, Bubba Wallace just kind of capitalized.
I don't know if they just had them underinflated, or I don't know. I'm curious why they kept blowing, exactly on both those two. I mean,
I think knowing Penske, they're doing what they normally do. I mean, you got to think all three cars. Blaney won at Nashville, Logano won at Texas, and Cindric won at Talladega. So Penske's probably doing what they normally do. Around this time, which is just pushing the setups. Trying to get ready for the fall and do what they try and normally do, which is make a deep run and go for another championship. Which, I mean, they've won 3 straight championships now, by doing the same thing, being kind of okay in the regular season and then turning it on in the final 10 races. And that's what this format, creates, and that's what this format rewards. And, that's what the playoff committee is trying to discuss. But, they've been having some difficulties agreeing on that, and we might not have any major changes next year as we all originally thought or originally hoped for. So,
I mean, I don't know. From my perspective, I mean, they do need to change the format. I mean, shoot, the 16th place driver in the field could win the championship at any given week. So, I mean,
put it to you this way: we still have a format, and they say this. It's kind of the biggest, I guess, one thing they can agree on is that the one race championship should go, and it should, because under this current format that we've had for many, many years now, it is still possible for one driver to win the first 35 races of a season, finish second in the last race, and still lose the championship.
Yeah,
it is still possible for that to happen.
What I think they should do is,
I think that's worse than somebody like Harrison Burton last year, hypothetically, making his way to the championship 4. I think that's worse than that.
In my opinion, I think they should have a 3-race championship. I mean, all different types of tracks. One intermediate, one short track, one road course. To me, that shows the best ability to adapt to all 3 different types of tracks we have.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But that's just me, though. I mean, it would be really cool. Kind of how, the NFL does their playoff system towards the end, but I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing, okay? A one-race championship, or even just this current format in general, it's trying to produce Game 7 moments. And here's the thing. If every year is, oh my God, Game 7 moment, guess what? None of them are.
Right.
You're going to have some years, naturally, where just one team dominates, one driver dominates, one player dominates. And it just makes you appreciate these close championship battles and these close, point situations. It makes you appreciate them more. I mean, even Chase Elliott, it's like the regular season championship has come down to pretty close battles, and the only thing the playoffs had to deal with that is just, the payout for winning the regular season championship and just, oh, this driver won, they're automatically in the playoffs. And that's another thing, too, I think really the winning end should probably go.
That I'm
I
on
mean,
the
here's
fence
the thing,
about.
okay? Somebody like, again, Harrison Burton from last year, it's a feel-good win, okay? That's what it should be treated as a feel-good win. Cool, it's a feel-good win, you got your moment. But guys like Harrison Burton, or even SVG to some extent, although SVG, of course, is different. He has 3 wins this year, but even if you look at him in points, he's still not really doing all that good in the points, The playoffs, even if we keep, relatively the same format, get rid of when you're in, or put some kind of points cutoff or something to where we have the best drivers competing for the championship. Even if it's a format that, rewards winning or may not be the most legitimate or the best solution, if it at least has the best drivers of that particular season competing, then, I mean, I kind of think of like the 12-man chase with the wild card format, where they had the top 10 drivers in points, and then they had the 2 wild card drivers, which was the guys 11th to 20th in points that had the most wins.
Right.
So, and if we use that format, I think SVG is right behind Cindric for that, I guess, kind of 20th place cutoff. So, but it's kind of just hypotheticals. But, I mean, I guess on that note, I remember, I think it was last year, in the hypothetical Winston Cup points, I think Bell would have won the championship by 5 points. So, I mean, it's things that have to be answered. We don't need Game 7 moments. We don't need winner take all every year, because at that point, none of it is. It's just another race. That's why, TV ratings have been down for so long. It's because NASCAR is trying to, I guess, kind of manipulate a better outcome instead of letting it play out naturally. Even if you look at last year, sure, we had good races in the playoffs. I think of Homestead,
Kansas.
I think of Talladega, which had, the big 28-car pileup, Kansas, like you mentioned. But we had even better races in the regular season, where the only thing that mattered about the playoffs was, tagged on at the end, oh, when you're in, you won yourself into the playoffs. Because back in, the regular season, you're not thinking about the playoffs as much. And, you think of, really good races in the regular season last year, like Darlington, like Kansas, like Charlotte for the 600. So I think it's just a matter of finding that balance between what's entertaining, what puts people, sitting down watching the race on TV, what puts people in the stands, but also what makes it legitimate. And it's a balance that NASCAR and the teams and the owners and TV partners have to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to do a play-in tournament kind of thing. So they'll have 4 races this side, the 16 drivers. I wouldn't say the 16, but the last 12 to 16,
Okay.
and then cut off after 12. So I think they should do is 4 races. Every race, one person is eliminated. Top 12 point drivers are automatically into playoffs, the actual playoffs.
So are you talking the final 4 races before the playoffs?
Yes.
So I guess it would, if we use this year, it would be right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what, Iowa, Watkins Glen, Richmond, Daytona?
Yeah.
Okay. And just keep the top 12,
top 12,
which would be I think all the winners but Barry, I think.
All the winners, yeah, but Barry, because Barry is 12th in points. So
something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So it would be Barry on to
Barry, Reddick, Bowman, and
Busher, yeah. So I kind of like that. Think of it. So those 4 have to battle it out to make the last playoff spot. And if you still have a win, it'll help you get to the points. Especially if you win in the last 4 races. Especially if you win in those 4 races, you get extra points. I don't know.
I get what you're saying with kind of a play-in.
Race in, you're in.
I think, you could almost take, going back to, the wild card format with the chase, almost just take the top 10 in points, and then, maybe do, top 10 in points are locked in, and then do, 11th through 20th, as in, put them in a plan, and then anybody else who has won. So, like, say, like, top 10 are locked into the playoffs, 11th through 20th are in the hypothetical plan, and then, like, say, like, somebody, like, a guy who's, like, 27th in points wins the race. Throw him in, too, into this play-in, and just have them race, the final, like, 4 races for a plan.
Yeah.
For, say, 2 spots.
Right.
It makes the official like playoffs be 12.
Yeah, which
because I think 12 is probably the best number, the best way to go.
16 is good, but I like 12 better.
Yeah.
To me, it gives the best drivers the time to shine. So I mean, in my opinion, the play-in tournament kind of thing would work out in NASCAR's favor, but we'll see.
It's kind of interesting because I don't think I've kind of heard that approach because I've seen like one race at the start of the playoffs as like a wild card race where they have like the top 8 locked into the next round, and then the other 8 have to fight it out, and then 4 of them get eliminated. I've seen 3-race championship. I've seen 3 races, then 7 races. I've seen 7, then 3, but I haven't heard kind of like a play-in format. But I mean, the NBA has a play-in, and the NBA has an in-season tournament, and NASCAR adopted an in-season tournament, so maybe NASCAR adopts a play-in.
That's kind of how I was basing off of the NBA with the play-in tournament, which, I mean, in my opinion, I think it works out for them.
I mean, because, you think about it, if you have, like, you have the, say, 10 best drivers in points. All right, cool. That's a lot of the best drivers, okay? And then you have your 11th through 20th, still good drivers on the season, but they have to play it in. And then you get, like, you throw in your guys that have won a race, like, in way down in points. Somebody like SVG or
Dylan
Barry or Dylan, for example. Just throw them into a plan and have them fight out for the last like 2 spots. So it's like you have basically mostly the best drivers, but you still in some sort of way incorporate the winning in, and you also incorporate a little bit of a plan. Kind of drums up interest. Instead of like, oh, one race before the playoffs. One race before the playoffs at Daytona, whereas you drum up, the last like 4 races before the playoffs.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was basing off of. So I mean, I don't know, but I mean,
I kind of like that though.
That was a thought of mine. I mean, to me, it would just definitely have to be worked out like race wise to see what races would be best in that final 4 races. Yeah. But
so, they still have to come up with the schedule, which is gonna take a minute because you gotta fit in other races. San Diego is taking where Pocono was, so you got to move Pocono, but you got to figure out what's going to go on July 4th, and
it's a lot to figure out.
And it's like, we've all been talking about Chicago and coming back, but is it actually going to come back?
Right.
Because something else has to replace it, because San Diego's replacing Chicago street course, but what would go away to replace Chicago? Maybe they get rid of Mexico, but it's only ran for 1 year. But again, a lot of the selling point for that was Suarez, and he's about to probably not have a Cup Series ride, or maybe even a National Series ride, although he could probably find a Xfinity ride at worst.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know.
Back to Indy news. We got a little sidetracked there.
It was a good discussion.
Yeah.
So
it was a thought.
I really thought Briscoe would do better, but then again, he's kind of done that where he's qualified really good. That was his 5th pole of the year, I believe. He's the first driver in history to win the Daytona 500 pole, the Coke 600 pole, and the Brickyard 400 pole in the same year. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the Southern 500 pole because he is the defending winner of the Southern 500. Briscoe, he led a good chunk in the opening stage and won the opening stage, and then he kind of had like a top 5 car, and then he kind of faded to like a 7th to 12th place car. He was running 7th coming to either the second, I think it was the last restart in double overtime, and then he ran out of gas. So he got a few spots up to like 18th. Byron ran out of gas.
Yeah, it's okay. Byron ran out of gas too.
Yeah. Well, Byron ran out of gas on the racetrack on the last lap, though. But Byron ended up 16th, so I'm still 3 points back in the points, and we'll get to the rest of the points in a minute. But Byron finishing 16th instead of 3rd kind of bailed me out.
Yeah, lucky you.
Yeah. But going back to Bubba, this is really just a huge win for him. Not only, it's his first win in 2.5 years. It's his first win in the regular season.
It's big for 23-11 too. It's the first one of the year.
Because you think about, it's big for 23-11 being that it's, the lawsuit. And it's rare to see like an open car or uncharted car win a race.
Yeah.
But let alone a crown jewel.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's historical in a lot of facts, but.
And I guess Hamlin did get to kiss the bricks, but as an owner, as a team owner instead of a driver. But I mean, Hamlin ended up 3rd after starting in a backup car after crashing in qualifying. So.
Hamlin had a fast car in qualifying. He probably would have qualified in the pole.
Oh yeah, he would have qualified on the pole if he didn't crash.
Yeah, that was a fast car.
But, and if he would have qualified, on the pole or even up there instead of starting last, in the backup car, he probably could have had a good shot at winning.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting to think how deep is Bubba gonna go? Now that he's actually won in the regular season, and he's been known through the years throughout his career. He's been known as kind of he starts out slow and then kind of picks up speed, and maybe wins in the fall, but like
never wins in the regular season.
Well, until now, but he's had good speed, and I believe he won his dual race back in February.
He did,
at Daytona. So we haven't really seen this kind of speed out of him, but obviously I'm not ready to call him always gonna make a run in the round of 8, but I think he can get out of the first round, but we'll see.
Yeah, I would be surprised if he made it out of the round of 12. I mean, that whole entire track list. I mean, back to the point standings.
Yeah, I think this is really kind of a nice turning point for Bubba in his career, and maybe even 23-11, because even with the distractions, I mean, now they can focus on trying to get Reddick in the playoffs too. Yeah. We'll see. And I think, there's 4 races left, and there's 3 spots to claim. There's 3 spots left on points, so I think we'll probably get 2 more winners comfortably.
Especially at Daytona, and Watkins Glen too.
Here's the thing: you look at somebody like Buescher, who's 16th on the playoff grid. The final 3 races of the regular season: Watkins Glen won last year, Richmond won in 23, Daytona won in 23. So he's won at all 3 of those tracks.
Buescher's a sneaky pick. This is probably one of the final wild card races, I should say, besides Daytona.
I was kind of it's only the second time that Cup cars have been on it, and it's a completely new tire. But at the same time, Dover had a new tire, and it didn't really do all that much. So. But
you never know until you find out until the race day.
I think the weather's supposed to be cooler again, so which of course is going to mean more grip, which could it'll mean it's faster. So it could lead to more tire wear or less tire wear. We don't know.
Depends how much sun. Depends on a lot of factors.
If we get peaks of sun, it can change the track temp and the compound and all that. It really depends on how the tires are going to work. They also kept the track kind of in the same condition. So if you remember, ahead of last year's race, they repaved the bottom of the corners, the bottom 2 grooves in the corners, but kept the rest of it as the original pavement. And yes, that is the rest of the track is original pavement from when they built the track in 2006.
Looks great. Oh.
So, yeah. I thought last year's race was all right. I was also there last year, and I'll be there again on Sunday. We thought that the repave in the bottom of the corners, we thought that it was going to be bad, but
it wasn't.
It wasn't. It was pretty good. So, and I think that was important because if you remember, when they put Iowa on the schedule, it was because Montreal fell through. And so, it was kind of important for Iowa to have at least a respectable showing, being that, it could get replaced. And it still could. They might decide to take it off and put Montreal on, or take it off and put Chicago in on the schedule.
That'd probably be better.
We don't know. So
it'd probably be better if they if they decided to move it, I feel like they should move it to Chicagoland.
We'll see.
That'd be the best suitable track. I mean, it's close by, only a couple hours away from Iowa to Chicago.
I mean, right here at the studio, we're basically halfway in between Iowa Speedway and Chicagoland. So,
it's outside Joliet versus outside Newton, Iowa. I mean.
Anyways, officially getting into the picks that we had for the Brickyard. I picked Briscoe, started on the pole, led 34 laps. Not the most laps. Cindric led 40, which kind of sucks because that would have netted me 5 bonus points, which really could have been helpful in this situation. And we'll get to points in a minute. Evan picked Byron, who ran out of gas on the last lap from like 3rd, ended up 16th.
Boo.
I mean, it bailed me out a little bit, so.
It's okay.
Zach picked Chase Elliott, who finished 13th, as he extends his top 20 streak once again. So, I know his father, Bill Elliott, is the only man to run it over a full season, and I believe that was his championship season in 1988. But that was, of course, back when they only had 29 races.
Yeah. Mason
with SVG ended up 19th, and then Haley picked Larson, who led 19 laps to finish 2nd. I really thought that, with Bubba kind of stressing about fuel towards the end of the race, I kind of thought it was going to be like last year where, Brad ran out of gas and Larson kind of took over the front row and then won the race. So, but Bubba managed to hang on through, that late rain delay with like 4 laps to go and then 2 overtime restarts. So.
Second race in a row that's went into like less than 10 to go red flag.
I mean, hey, NASCAR stayed consistent with that. They were committed to drying the track, but I mean,
it was only a small rain shower, so I mean, I kind of understand.
it was pretty wet over in 1 and 2, but where I was at the exit of turn 4, it was dry.
Yeah, it was only one corner. Yeah, versus like Dover, that was the whole entire track.
That one spot. So
Dover was the whole entire track.
I mean, yeah, but even then, that rain shower still kind of
it lasted for an hour.
Like, yeah, but so Bernardo picked Reddick, who was running pretty good until he got wrecked on that overtime restart. Zane Smith got turned by Bell, which it's interesting with that. And I saw that interesting kind of take because I saw Bell's onboard, and it looked like Bell was trying to go like from up high and try and cross over down low, heading to turn 3, but he just misjudged it. But it almost looks pretty egregious enough to where NASCAR should review it, but at the same time, I think it was just a horrible misjudgment. But it's weird to see somebody like Bell just misjudge it that bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you just didn't hear a spotter. I don't know.
It's possible. I mean, Indy is a big track, 2.5 miles, and nowhere in Indianapolis Motor Speedway can you see the whole track because the Pacota's in the way.
Right.
So.
Just could be one of those things. He just misjudged it. And hear a spotter. Could be a lot of things, but
it's possible. So, and then Reddick just had nowhere to go and basically T-boned Zane Smith.
Yeah, I mean, in his defense, he could not see anything. I watched his onboard cam. He could not see anything.
Yeah. So, Colin picked Ty Gibbs, who finished 21st, but Ty Gibbs did win the $1 million in-season challenge over Ty Dillon. It was pretty anticlimactic. Early in the race, there was that big stack up that took out a lot of cars. It was probably like the biggest stack up / wreck / incident without warranting a caution that I've probably ever seen. I mean, Suarez, Kyle Busch, Stenhouse, Ty Dillon, they all had, Riley Herbst, they all had plenty of damage, but no caution there. But
which I was very surprised about.
Yeah.
Especially when Stenhouse got on the wall. I was surprised they didn't throw it, especially for that, because he was slow. Very slow trying to get back.
It's like Stenhouse barely, Stenhouse hit the wall at Indy, but, and other cars had plenty of damage, but no caution, but Stenhouse barely tapped the wall at the All-Star at Texas in 22, and they throw the caution.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know.
Is what it is. I mean, NASCAR's just inconsistent like that, and it's something that they have to work on. They have to work on being consistent and setting a precedent and try and make consistent calls, because they can make consistent calls, even if, to some people, if the calls suck, consistency is important.
Yeah.
Because consistency, it'll make fairness. Because, it doesn't matter if it's this situation or this guy or this driver, the call is the same.
Right.
And that's what NASCAR needs. But I think Ty Dillon finished, he finished like a few laps down, so it wasn't really all that competitive, but Ty Gibbs wins the $1 million, and I was actually right last episode, because even though they did give, the money to the owners, I was actually kind of correct. They did give Ty Gibbs like one of those big $1 million checks, like the All-Star, like, look at me, I won something. But
it's the only thing he's gonna win in his life.
Yeah, and then he had that, and then he had that like cash gun. So he was like flinging money around. But I actually saw him and took some photos with my camera on like the up above the media center. He was trying to load the cash gun again, but he couldn't load the thing, so he's just flinging money with his hand. Well, I mean, if you really think about it, most of that money's probably gonna go to him anyways.
I know it is. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, but and then Stacy picked Blaney, who ended up 7th and won stage 2, led like 14 laps. But Blaney was kind of interesting because if you remember, like Barry and Cindric and Logano, they all stayed out, but Blaney pit. But Blaney also pitted on a closed pit road, but I think that was because he was running out of gas too, I think. Yeah. So, yeah, just another bad day for Penske. I don't know what it is with Penske. It's like normally Penske's quiet in the regular season, but they're just making a lot of mistakes, like in general. Like they normally don't make mistakes this egregious. I mean, Penske owns Indianapolis, and he watched all 3 of his cars, kind of struggle at different points throughout this race, and then especially IndyCar. IndyCar is not going too well for Penske. I look at Gateway, where all 3 Penske cars ended up out of the race, and Newgarden was leading through 3 and 4, and then he ended up upside down on the front stretch. So we'll get to IndyCar in a minute. It's pretty much a snooze fest, but getting to points, Evans still leads by 3 points over me.
Yes, sir.
But is what it is. Haley took a chunk out of our points gap, finishing second with Larson. She's 127 back. Mason's 215 back. Zach's 227 back, and then we get into the part-timers, like we do every week.
Stacy and all them.
Yeah, Colin and Bernardo, but is what it is. IndyCar was pretty much a snooze fest. Alex Palou won his 8th race of the season, which is just insane. IndyCar's getting down to it. They only have 3 races left on their season.
And that's the reason why I only watched the Indianapolis 500.
I've been watching some IndyCar, with this podcast, with IndyCar and even, NHRA. I've definitely been more invested in motorsports than I have been in years past, so it's kind of nice. But, IndyCar does not normally see this level of dominance. But, see, the difference is IndyCar, is willing to accept it. Palou's dominating. All right, cool. But they're not, I don't think IndyCar's planning on making a playoff system and trying to delegitimize IndyCar. Whereas NASCAR, they don't really seem to be accepting it, I mean, there's still dominant seasons that, win the championship under this format. You think of Truex in 2017, Kyle Busch sort of in 2019, and Larson in 21 is probably the big one, but there's also plenty of seasons that should have won the championship that didn't win the championship. Harvick in 2020, and even championships in previous formats. Like people like to point to Ryan Newman in 2003, where he won 8 races. To Matt Kenseth's 1 race, but Matt Kenseth still won the championship by such a big margin. But he was just so consistent that year, and that's kind of why the chase and all that stuff was created.
Which I understand why they wanted to do that. So I mean, I'm not mad at them for changing it. So
20 years ago it was good in practice, but NASCAR's not going to go back, because that would essentially be admitting that the playoffs was a failure. And it's a lot of people want to go back to Winston Cup format, and I mean, I'm kind of that, but at the same time, being sort of a realist, it should be tweaked. The format should be tweaked, and it should be tweaked to try and balance the format of entertainment and legitimacy, because especially ever since the elimination format in 2014 was introduced, it's ugh. But I'm glad that IndyCar is at least accepting that Palou is just really good this year, and he is well on his way to winning his 4th series championship. NHRA, no surprise, they are still showing IndyCar why they are the fastest racing on Earth. I don't know why IndyCar still calls themselves the fastest racing on Earth. Brittany Force, a week after being in Seattle and setting the world record pass, she was just like, I'm going to go faster.
I'm going to do it again.
Yep. Want to see me do it again? But Friday night in qualifying, set a nice, beautiful pass of 343.16 miles an hour, completely demolishing the speed record that she just set last week in Seattle. When is it going to end? We don't really know when it's going to end. Me and another friend were talking about this, but they could limit the amount of nitromethane and compound, what they use. They could change gear ratios. It's interesting. I think if top fuel dragsters and funny cars, if they ever get to 350, I think that's when they'll probably finally do something.
Yeah, because you're going to rocket at that point. I mean, you're literally
it pretty much is a rocket already, but...
I mean, if you get to 350 miles an hour, think about that. That's all I gotta say.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think NHRA is gonna even have talks until we hit 345. And then I think they will eventually hit 350. But we'll see. I could be wrong, but who knows. They're definitely not as, super rules heavy. I mean, they kind of just let it rip. I mean, there's a reason why NHRA is the fastest racing on Earth. The actual fastest racing on Earth, but
not this IndyCar bull.
Not IndyCar, whatever they're talking about. But now, if you're wondering, and if you listened to the episode last week, if you're wondering, did Brittany Force win? No.
Speed does not always matter.
Not always. Doug Coletta in Top Fuel, he got his first win of the year over defending Top Fuel champion Antron Brown. Austin Prock, who's the defending champion in Funny Car, got his 5th win of the year. And then Greg Stanfield in Pro Stock actually beat his own son to win for Pro Stock in the first time in 14 years. And then Richard Gadsden won in Pro Stock Motorcycle. They all won at Sonoma in Wine Country. But looking ahead now, after a couple weeks where we've had NASCAR and IndyCar and NHRA all running at the same time, it's just NASCAR this week. With just Iowa. But yeah, NASCAR back in Iowa this weekend, the second Cup race after the inaugural race last year, won by Blaney. I was there last year at the inaugural race, and I'll be there again this weekend with my camera. It's interesting because they had the tire test in early June, which was tested by Kyle Busch, Briscoe, and Cindric, but it's a completely different tire that they're bringing this year. Different left side compound, different right side compound. And like we're talking about, we don't know how this tire is going to go. Dover's tire, new tire.
Wasn't great.
Bristol in spring of 24.
Awesome.
Bring
back old tire wear.
I mean, that's kind of the thing is, we don't really have, true tire wear. And that's what makes me kind of reminisce old Atlanta. Because it always had that nice old pavement with that great tire wear. And maybe even somewhere like Chicagoland could have that,
Especially if they go back there and have a whole different tire setup. It could be interesting.
IndyCar's off for the weekend. They return August 10th with the race at Portland. It's the last road course for IndyCar for this year because their final 2 races are at Milwaukee Mile and then Nashville.
No, I'll be on vacation.
Yeah. And NHRA gets a couple weeks off. They return in mid-August with the Lucas Oil NHRA Nationals up in Brainerd, Minnesota. And that's their last Nationals before the U.S. Nationals in late August at Indianapolis Raceway Park, which I might be trying to go to that. We'll see. I might try and take you with. We'll see. Unless you're on vacation. Are you on vacation?
What day is it?
It's late August, so basically Labor Day weekend.
I don't know yet.
We'll find out.
We'll come to that road.
We'll find it. We'll get to that road when we get there. But yeah, picks for Iowa. Not too many picks in yet. I'm picking Bell, and so is Haley. She keeps reading my mind somehow. So we're both picking Bell. Evan is sticking with Hamlin. Hamlin is debuting his Bob's Discount Furniture scheme, the primary, this weekend.
Bob.
Oh my Bob. And Stacy's still sticking with Blaney, who won this race last year.
That was gonna be my pick. I'm gonna keep her allowed to be my pick.
Yeah, well, but that is all we've got for this week's episode of the Throttle to the Floor podcast. Make sure you tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube. I finally have this on YouTube.
Oh, we have this on YouTube now?
Well, I put the audio files on.
Oh,
there.
okay.
So,
I'll say like video.
But even if we can't get the video to work, like the audio will still be on YouTube.
Yeah.
So even if
we're on there now,
and we've been having the video going, but even if we can't get it, we do have the audio. So we are on YouTube, and also with that note, I kind of as I mentioned earlier, I merged my photography and podcast Instagrams into one brand, Chillwell Media. So, like my photography photos from this past, weekend at Indy and from Iowa and all that's on the Chillwell Media Instagram account. The YouTube is Chillwell Media as well. So, make sure you check that out. But that's all we got for this week's episode of the Throttle Floor podcast. Tune in next week for Iowa. We'll see what happens. It's also very hot outside and very hot in the studio right now.
Peace out, y'all. I'm sweating to death. I'm gonna go in my car and AC.